Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, I'm Penny. I am a master esthetician in Portland, Oregon. I'm excited that you're here today. We are going to do a comprehensive overview of all of the microneedling pens that I own. I do have the new Dr. Pen A6S, and I also have the Hydra pen. So I'm going to start this video with those two pens. But I'm going to go through the rest of the pens that I own. I have the X5, I have the A6, I have the M8, and I have the A7. I'm going to put timestamps in the description box so you can skip around if you want to just, learn about one pen or the other. Yeah, so let's get right into this. We're going to start with the A6S. It is an updated version of the A6. That was the first pen that I ever bought. The A6S looks like this. Kind of a nice turquoise color. And the things that make this pen special, in my opinion, is that it does have a digital display. It does have a dial so that you can toggle it from 0.25, so that's cosmetic needling, all the way up to 2.5, which would be for things like scar revision and stretch marks, that kind of thing. So this pen goes, it can take a cartridge and move it all the way from that cosmetic depth all the way up to that high depth of 2.5. So that's important to know, and it's a dial to do that. The thing that makes this pen especially, special is that it has a digital display and it has 6 speeds. So each speed setting corresponds to another level higher in RPMs. That's how you kind of figure out that correlation. It has 2 rechargeable battery packs. Both of them that do this, make it cordless, have that digital display. So even if you have, you need to use a different one, this one is now dead, let's say, and I put the second one back on. So there's a second one. They look exactly identical, 2 long ones. Both of them have that digital display. I think that that's really cool. So you have 2 battery packs, both with a digital display. You can power those up and have them charged and ready to go. So if you want to do needling more than, say, your face, neck, chest, you want to needle your arms, you want to needle your hands, you want to needle your knees, you want to do any of that, you might need more than one battery, and you don't have to compromise the digital display because you have it in both of the batteries. I think that that's actually a really cool feature. Now, the other thing about this pen is that it also can plug in. It's designed to not only be cordless, but to also be a corded pen. Now, all of these pens, you can actually use them plugged in, but they're not necessarily designed to be used plugged in or cordless. They're usually designed to be used one way or the other. This one, on the other hand, is designed to be used both ways. The attachment that comes with it that you put on the pen that makes it a corded pen also has the digital display. So all of the attachments for this pen, the 2 battery packs and the attachment that you plug in, all retain that digital display so that you can see the speed setting, and they have the same functionality with the button. It does come with the newer 16-pin cartridge. Those 16-pin cartridges, the cool thing about them is they're 34 gauge needles. So the higher the number of gauge, in case you don't know this, the thinner the needle. So anytime you're looking at a gauge, a pretty typical standard gauge on a pen is 32. So when you get higher, each level higher that you go, the needle gets finer. If you go down the number, let's say to 31, which one of these pens actually has some cartridges that are 31, that's a thicker needle and would be used for scars or stretch marks. So you really want to know your cartridges and know the gauges before you use them on various parts of your face or your body. And the cartridge has 3 notches. So in here, and it'll be hard to see here, but it has 3 notches so that when you plug it into the actual pen, it really latches on. That was one of the complaints about the A6. There were only 2 little notches for it to plug onto the pen, and people complained about those cartridges like flying off. I never actually had that happen, but that doesn't mean that it's not happening because I've seen lots of people talk about that. This just means that the cartridge is going to be more secure on the pen. So that is the new A6S. Or a caveat that I think is super important: anytime these pens are new, it's harder to find the cartridges And often you have to wait before you will have all of the cartridges at your disposal, like Nano, or, you have to really look before you actually pull the trigger and buy a pen. You need to look and make sure that you can get the cartridges for the services that you want to do. So always check the availability of cartridges. Okay, the next pen that we're going to talk about is the Hydra pen. This pen is very exciting to me. It has some serious pros and it has some serious cons, but it's very, very exciting. It looks like this. This is a pen, you charge the entire unit. The special thing about this pen is that the cartridges actually come with preset needle lengths. So for example, this cartridge, which is gonna be really hard to see, this cartridge has its needles set at 0.5 millimeter, which is the beginning of medical needling depth. That's also a drawback, obviously, the fact that you cannot adjust the cartridge length. There are cartridges available in Nano, in 0.25, in 0.5, and in 1, but you have to switch out the cartridges to use the depth that you want. Well, what makes this pen good? I'm sure some of you are wondering, because that drawback is definitely a drawback, that you have to switch out the cartridges. What makes this super special is, as you can see, that's a reservoir in there. So you can actually open up the cartridge and you can put your serum, your hyaluronic acid, whatever you are going to use, depending on the depth. So because this is a 0.5 cartridge, I would only put hyaluronic acid, and I would use high molecular weight hyaluronic acid. That's up to you what you want to use in your pen. If this was a 0.25 cartridge, I could put so many amazing serums and stuff like that, and it would actually feed through the cartridge, and as you're needling, it puts that serum down while you're needling. Now, that is really cool because of hygiene. You really want to touch your face as little as possible as you are needling, no matter what pen you're using. And so part of that is you need some kind of serum on your face with these pens in order to get some slip. And so you have to be reapplying serum. The cool thing about this, you can put the serum in the cartridge and never touch your face with anything other than the tip of this cartridge. So what I would say that this pen is best for is somebody who doesn't mind switching out cartridges if they're going to do medical needling, that kind of thing. Or this would be absolutely fantastic as a cosmetic needling pen. So you're only going to do product penetration at 0.25. You get the 0.25 cartridges. You fill them with whatever serum that you'd like. You have to get the right thickness, because if it's too thin, it flows through too fast. If it's too thick, it doesn't flow through enough. So you get kind of a medium thickness serum, but you can choose so many things. You can do whatever you want, put it in there at 0.25 and get a fantastic cosmetic needling with, infusing some really amazing serums into your skin. And I think that's where this pen shines. Now, again, I actually think it's super, super cool that you can use it at 0.5 or at 1, but I know that some of you are going to be like, wait, I have to buy all of those cartridges. I totally get it, but that's the pen that it is. Now, it does, again, it's cordless, turns on, and then you probably can't see it, but right there's a digital display, and you can hear, and it adjusts the speed that way, and it adjusts up to 4 different speed settings here. And then you press and hold, and it turns off. So that's the gist of this pen. It's pretty rudimentary in the fact that you can't, adjust the depths, but at the same time, it takes it to a new level, if you ask me, the fact that you can already put the serum into the cartridge. I think that that's really, really cool. So those are the 2 new pens on the market. Now we're going to go through the pens that I already own. I'm going to quickly take you through the specs, and then that way, if you're in the market, you kind of have them all in one place. So we're going to go down the list, starting with the oldest, and that is the A6. This is the Ultima A6. This pen has 2 rechargeable batteries that come off, obviously, and there's a little battery pack that exists, and you plug that onto this, you plug it into the wall, this charges up, you can charge both of your battery packs up, plug it in, and then it will turn on Now, that little flashing light is the speed indicator. So every time I push that, the light will flash faster and you will hear that it gets faster. So you can see, that's how you know the speed settings on this pen. Press and hold and it turns back off. Up here you have a rotary dial. I have to say, on the A6, this one, it is probably the most smooth rotary dial of all of them. It is really easy to adjust. This adjusts your needle depth. So your needles are at the end here. And when I turn this, those needles are going to come out or they're going to recede depending on the depth that I choose. And again, it's a 0.25 cosmetic needling all the way up to a 2.5, which is a medical needling. So this pen is a workhorse. It does everything. It has all of the cartridges easily accessible. You can get nano, you can get, see, it has the 12 pin, it has 36 pin, it has 42, it has the nano. So it's very, very easy to replace parts, to replace cartridges, that kind of thing. It does run between 8,000 RPMs all the way up to 18,000 RPMs, depending on the speed that you've set. You can click through those RPMs. And again, no digital display, easy to get. So that is the Ultima A6. Okay, the next one that we're going to talk about is the X5. Now the X5 is cordless option. You actually charge the entire unit. There's no battery that comes off of it. And it's another one you press and hold, and there's your digital display. It toggles all the way up to a level 5. And at 5, you are at 16,000 RPM. So that's what this pen goes to. And you press and hold and it will turn off. Some other interesting things that you need to know about this pen is it actually has screw-in cartridges here. So if you are somebody that's concerned about the security of those cartridges, they aren't notched on, they're screwed in and they are not going anywhere. Now, like I said, it has 5 speeds and it goes from a 0.25 to a 2.5 like everything else, and that's done here, right? Let's see, something else that's really, really important about this pen in particular is the gauge needles are actually a little bit different. Some of the cartridges that come with this, my cat is saying hi, you guys. Some of the cartridges that come with this one actually have a 31 gauge needle. That means that those needles are actually thicker. That's great for scar revision and for stretch marks, things like that. But you definitely need to know that, because when you use a 31 gauge cartridge on your face, neck, décolleté, you're going to feel it a little bit more. You might have a little bit more recovery time, that kind of thing. So that is with the X5. I haven't noticed a 31 gauge cartridge with any of the other pens but this one. So it is definitely something that you should know. Oh, something else that's important about the X5. I have noticed that it is definitely harder to find cartridges. It's harder to find the nano. It's harder to find replacement cartridges. So that's something else that I think is important about the X5. If you are shopping around, make sure you can find the cartridges that you actually want to use. So whatever you're planning to do with the microneedling, make sure that the cartridges are available to you with the X5 if this is the pen that you want to get. Okay, we're going to move on to the M8. This is one of my newer acquisitions. It looks like this. I have a whole video on this one. I will link so that you guys, if you want a really in-depth conversation about it, you can go there. So this is also an entire unit that gets charged. There's no detachable batteries. It is also a digital display. You press and hold, it turns on, and it toggles up to 6 speed settings. The top speed setting is going to get you 16,000 RPMs. This one also has the depth toggle from 0.25 cosmetic needling all the way up to 2.5. This one has cartridges that kind of cinch on with the little notches. This one has 3 notches like the A6S. In contrast, you guys, to the Ultima A6, the original one, this one has just two spots in the cartridge that click on here. The M8 and the A6S have 3. So theoretically, that cartridge is going to be more securely on both the A6S and the M8. Okay, so again, if cartridge security is something that you're really concerned with, the A6S and the M8 and certainly the X5, because it screws in, are all probably the most securely attached cartridges. Now, With the M8, the thing that I think is really cool about this one is it comes with a 16 pin, and that 16 pin cartridge is 34 gauge needles. So it has a 16 pin cartridge with fine gauge needles, and I love that. I think it's great for your face, neck, chest area. You're gonna feel it a little bit less. It's still not a party, but it's definitely, those finer gauge needles are more comfortable to use and they cause actual less trauma to your skin. So I love that about this particular pen. Now, also with the M8, because it's sort of new, you definitely want to check and make sure that you can get the cartridges that you want. A lot of times what comes in the box isn't always easy to then go buy and replenish. So before you purchase, you want to make sure that you will be able to buy your backup cartridges. So that is the M8. Okay, the last one we're going to talk about, you guys, is the one and only corded option of the bunch, and that is the Dr. Pen A7. So this one can only be used plugged into the wall. So that's its downfall, but it's also a positive because that gives it a more, stable power source, meaning that it's just going to be pretty consistent power in the device. So if you don't mind being tethered to the wall, the A7 is an excellent choice. It doesn't have quite the bells and whistles of the other pens, but I got to tell you, it's a favorite of mine because without all those bells and whistles, I feel like there's less to go wrong. Being plugged into the wall, there's less to go wrong. It's just kind of a workhorse of a pen. And what is really important to know about this one is this one also has those 34 gauge needle cartridge options. So you have that finer gauge option. And like I said, I really, really like that about this pen. Now, plugged into the wall, which is the only way you can use it, this one goes all the way up to 18,000 RPMs. And like I said, no bells and whistles, but you turn the rotary here and that will adjust your needle depth. There would be a cartridge here. You turn this back here and that adjusts your speed. So you're not toggling through buttons or anything like that. The only time you use a button is when you turn this device on to start it up and when you turn it off to turn it off. Otherwise, everything is rotary and it's plugged in. This one also has a little bit different way for the cartridge to go in. It goes in and kind of toggles in. It cinches in. It's very, very secure. I've never had any issue with the cartridge coming off or anything like that. I just feel like those 34 gauge cartridges they're very good for using on your face, using on your neck, using on your décolleté because of that finer gauge. I just feel like it does less trauma to your skin and it hurts less, all of that stuff. That said, I hate being tethered to the wall. Even if I'm right next to an outlet, it's not my favorite thing. I like having the flexibility of no cord whatsoever. So with all of these pens, you have to determine what is important to you. Is it the gauge of the cartridge? Is it the security of the cartridge on the end of the pen? Is it a cord or no? Is it a digital display? So once you kind of narrow down what you want in a pen, there's one for everyone here. I mean, for sure. So if you guys have any questions, definitely leave them in the comment section. I will do my best to answer, and I will continually update these videos anytime I get a new device. Okay, you guys, that is the rundown of all of the microneedling pens that I currently have at home. Hope you guys are having a fantastic week, and I will see you in my next skincare video. Take care.